Jungkook's underground garage, late night, heavy rain outside, the engine of his matte black car still ticking as he slams the door shut. Taehyung, what happened? Jungkook, voice flat. Find them, all of them. Taehyung, who? Jungkook, turning slowly. Her stepmother, her father, her cousin, every single one who laid a hand on her, who sold her, who fed her to that club like meat. Taehyung went still. Taehyung, quietly. You found out? Jungkook's jaw clenched. He held a small phone in his gloved hand. Cracked. Burnt. Jungkook. She left it behind, hidden in her coat pocket. I powered it on. There were recordings. Taehyung. What kind of recordings? Jungkook's expression darkened like a brewing storm. Jungkook growling, voicemails, laughs, her stepmother telling someone how much they got for her, calling her a waste of food, her father saying she should have died instead of her mom. He stared straight ahead, eyes glowing like embers under his lashes. Jungkook, venomous. They beat her, starved her, sold her to cover their gambling debt. I swear to God, Taehyung, they didn't even check if she came back alive. Scene, abandoned warehouse, 2 nights later. You were asleep at the mansion, peacefully. You didn't know where he'd gone, but miles away. They were begging for their lives. 3 people, bloodied, bruised, tied to chairs in the center of a cold, dim room. Her stepmother, spitting, Who the hell are you? You think you can just take us? She was just a girl, a useless, filthy... Crack. The back of Jungkook's gun collided with her face. Jungkook, calmly, wrong answer. He turned to her stepfather, breathing heavy through a split lip. Jungkook, how much was she worth, huh? 50K? 70? Stepfather panicked. Where we didn't have a choice, I had debts. Jungkook, smirking coldly. And now you have none, no fingers, no teeth. He raised his hand, 2 of his men stepping forward with silver tools that made the cousin scream in terror. Cousin, but please, I didn't do anything. Jungkook, darkly, you filmed it, you watched, that's enough. He crouched down in front of the stepmother, blood already pooling around her chair. Jungkook, soft voice, dangerously low. She flinched when I touched her coat. She cried in her sleep for nights. You did that? And for that? He leaned closer, inches from her blood-smeared face. Jungkook, I'm not just going to kill you. I'm going to make you regret that you ever laid eyes on her. Then he stood, turned away, and let his men do the rest. Their screams echoed down the empty hall as he lit a cigarette, expression emotionless, like his soul had long since stopped caring, until he saw the photo. On the cousin's broken phone, a photo of you, wearing bruises, collar around your neck, eyes dead. Jungkook, whispering, never again. Morning. You were curled up in his hoodie again, sitting quietly in the corner of the sunlit terrace. You hadn't seen him in 2 nights. You assumed he'd forgotten you, but then the door creaked open, and he stood there, shirt blood-stained, hands cleaned, but his eyes darker than before. You looked up, blinking slowly, and he knelt in front of you, gently, like a shadow trying to touch sunlight. Jungkook, quietly, they won't hurt you again. You froze, you nervous. What do you mean? He didn't answer, just brushed a strand of hair away from your face. Jungkook whisper, they don't exist anymore. Your lips parted, not sure if you heard right. You, barely a whisper. What did you do? He leaned in closer, voice like silk and steel. Jungkook, I did what monsters do, Angel. Jungkook's mansion, the next morning. The silence in your room was louder than ever. You'd barely moved from the bed all day, Something felt wrong, not just inside your heart, but deep inside your body. Cramps, sharp and unrelenting, had knotted your lower abdomen since the early morning, the kind that made you curl into yourself, the kind that made your vision blur and fingers tremble. You pressed your palm to your stomach, breathing through your teeth. A damp chill coated your skin, even under the blanket. You felt heavy, weak. Your legs trembled when you tried to stand. The moment your foot touched the floor, you collapsed. Your knees buckled like your bones had turned to paper. You hit the cold marble hard, groaning through clenched teeth, tears pooling under your lashes. You whispering to yourself, "Not now. Please, not now." You hated being like this, hated being weak, especially here, especially in his house. But you couldn't hide the bleeding anymore, and it was already seeping through your clothes. Scene, moments later, footsteps outside your room. You didn't hear the door creak open. You didn't notice his presence, not until a shadow blocked the light. Jungkook. He stood in your doorway, silent, still, eyes dropping instantly to the way you lay curled on the cold floor. He saw the bloodstain on your sweatpants. He saw the way you clutched your abdomen like you were holding in pain too loud to cry out. And for the first time, his expression broke, not into anger, not fury, but something far more dangerous for a man like him, worry. Jungkook, softly. Wien? You stiffened. You didn't want him to see you like this. You didn't want his pity. But you couldn't move, couldn't breathe through the cramps anymore, couldn't lie when your hands were already trembling. You, weakly. I'm fine. Jungkook, kneeling instantly. You're not. His palm hovered over you, unsure where to touch, like he didn't want to break you. But his next action was fast. He slipped one arm under your knees, the other around your back, lifting you effortlessly into his arms. You, startled, whispering, "Don't, please, I'm dirty." Jungkook, firmly, "You're not." He carried you straight to the bed, jaw clenched, eyes scanning your face for every flinch, every twitch of pain. He laid you down so carefully, as if you were glass, and covered your trembling body with soft, warm blankets. You blinked up at him, pale, sweaty, weak. But what surprised you most was what he did next. He walked into the bathroom, came back with a warm towel and a hot water bottle. He didn't call a maid, he didn't summon anyone else, he did it himself. He gently placed the heat pad on your stomach, brushing your hair back with surprising tenderness. You blinked slowly, feverish, and then your voice cracked. "You, hoarse. Why are you doing this?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he sat beside you on the edge of the bed, leaning forward, resting his elbows on his knees as if he was fighting with himself. Jungkook, quietly. "You're in pain? I know what that looks like." A pause. Jungkook, "And I promised myself the next time I saw you suffer, it wouldn't be by anyone's hand, not even your own body's." You stared at him, lips trembling. His voice was low, controlled, but the way his eyes avoided yours, like he couldn't bear to see you broken again, it said everything. He didn't touch you again, but he sat there for hours, in silence, in stillness, just watching your breathing, making sure you were warm, making sure you were alive. Scene. Hours later, nightfall. The fever had taken over by evening. You shivered beneath the blankets, cheeks flushed, lips dry, and still, he didn't leave. He'd changed your sheets twice, gently wiped your forehead with a cold cloth, sat in a chair beside the bed like a silent guardian, face unreadable. And then, when your body shook with chills that blankets couldn't stop, you reached out, barely, fingers brushing the edge of his sleeve, you, mumbling, "Stay close. Please." He froze, and then slowly, silently, Jungkook climbed into the bed behind you, not touching, just letting the heat of his body press near your back, one careful arm draped over, not on you. But when you curled toward him in your sleep, seeking warmth, he tightened his hold just a little, and whispered in your ear like a vow, "Jungkook, I'll be your warmth when the world turns cold, even if you hate me for it.
Back at the
Jungkook's POV. It wasn't supposed to be like this. You weren't supposed to matter. You were just another broken girl in a world full of them, a name he hadn't even known, just another shadow in a hellish club full of frightened eyes. But that night, when he saw you curled in that corner, terrified, flinching from the slightest movement, you reminded him of something, or maybe someone. The rawness in your silence, the way your lips didn't beg but your eyes did, it clung to him, and he hadn't stopped thinking about you since. Back to present after putting you to sleep from the fever. Jungkook sat beside your bed in the dark, arms folded, jaw tight. Your body had curled into his warmth hours ago. He hadn't moved since. He watched you now, peaceful but pale, eyes swollen from pain, brows twitching even in sleep, like your body still didn't believe it was safe. He hated how delicate you looked. He hated how his fingers itched to brush the hair from your face. But most of all, he hated how much he felt. That wasn't him. He didn't feel. He punished. He ruled. He destroyed. But with you, he wanted to protect. And he didn't know how to do that without breaking himself open. Jungkook, thinking, why are you the one who got through? Why did seeing your pain make mine wake up again? Why does your silence ring louder in my head than gunfire? He let out a slow breath, knuckles cracking. It wasn't pity, it wasn't guilt, it was obsession, but not the sick kind, not the kind he usually indulged in. This one was deeper. He didn't want to own you, he wanted to unbreak you, even though he wasn't sure he knew how. Next morning, main hall of the mansion. The sound of male voices drifted down the staircase. Jungkook descended slowly, boots heavy on the marble, not in a rush, until he saw you. You were awake, walking, fragile but moving, draped in one of his oversized hoodies, sleeves falling over your hands. You looked like you were drowning in it, and you weren't alone. Taemin and Dave, his newly hired allies from the Korean-Italian border network, stood near the kitchen island, both tall, both attractive, both young enough to still have their soul. Rafe smiled when you thanked the maid, and Jungkook saw it. That flicker of warmth, that look. It was brief, subtle, but it was enough. His jaw tensed, hands curled into fists. Rafe laughed at something you said, not mocking, just amused. Damon leaned in a little too close to hand you a glass of juice. You smiled politely, shy, burned, not outwardly. He didn't move a muscle, but inside, a flick of flame, small, controlled, jealousy, the poisonous kind. But he didn't show it. Instead, he cleared his throat and walked toward you like a king returning to his throne. Both men straightened instantly. You turned around, eyes meeting his, and your breath caught. Jungkook saw it. He always did. Jungkook, calm, low. You shouldn't be on your feet yet. You opened your mouth to argue, but something in his tone silenced you. Rafe stepped back, giving you space, but not before glancing at Jungkook, curious. And Jungkook, he didn't look at either of them, he only looked at you, because despite his silence, despite his cold, he was dangerously aware that you were starting to smile again, and someone else saw it before he did. Later that night, Jungkook's study, he sat alone again, staring at the CCTV footage of earlier, you laughing faintly at Taemin's dumb joke, you bowing your head politely when Rafe offered to help. It wasn't them he distrusted, it was himself. Jungkook thinking, "You're not mine, but God help me, if someone else tries to touch what I protect, I'll burn the world down again." He closed the laptop, eyes dark with a calm that felt like a loaded gun, and whispered into the quiet air,